We've now entered the 9th console generation, which means games as a medium are ready, at least on paper, to take another leap forward. That leap will hopefully represent improvements in a number of ways, and the most obvious and instantly apparent one will be on the visual and technical side of things. We're still very early into the PS5 and Xbox Series X's lives, so it goes without saying that the developers have barely scratched the surface of what is likely possible on these consoles, but we've already seen some exciting improvements. Here, we're going to talk about a few examples that have stood out to us. Ray tracing with increased detail in Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. Ray tracing has been around in PC games for a while now, but with the PS5 and Xbox Series X both supporting it as well, it's a feature that's likely going to be much more standardized. Of course, as the generation progresses, we'll probably see very impressive implementations of ray tracing, but already there have been some games that have stood out. Notably, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales makes great use of it. The game comes with 3 different modes, and in Fidelity mode, the game runs with full ray tracing effects at 4K and 30 frames per second. The level of detail in this mode is much higher compared to the Performance RT mode, but if you want 60 frames per second with reduced resolution and details, then we have ray tracing at 60 FPS in Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. As mentioned earlier, Miles Morales also offers a Performance RT mode which offers a 60 frames per second experience with ray tracing effects. Although this comes with reduced resolution and level of detail like reduced vehicles and NPC density, the game absolutely looks amazing. This goes to show that the new consoles are very much capable of delivering ray tracing at 60 FPS, and that too in an open world. As game developers refine their tools, we cannot wait to see how open world games evolve at 60 FPS and ray tracing. 6K in Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Ori and the Will of the Wisps was already an astoundingly beautiful game when it launched on the Xbox One and PC earlier this year, but its Xbox Series X patch makes it even more of a visual wonder. Running the game at 4K and 120 FPS is already a blissful experience because you get crisp, beautiful visuals and amazing performance all at once. If you are willing to bring that frame rate down to 60 FPS, you can experience even prettier graphics, with the game running at a super sampled 6K in that mode. The Xbox Series X, like the PS5, is capable of 8K on paper, so it's great to see an early example of a game trying to rise above that 4K ceiling. Ultra HD and ultra-spec settings in Gears 5. Gears 5 is one of several Xbox One games that Microsoft have brought over to the Xbox Series X with major visual and performance enhancements, and the results here in the Coalition shooter are impressive to say the very least. On Microsoft's newest console, Gears 5 introduces graphical settings that were previously only available on PC, and it's a significant and instantly noticeable jump in quality. On top of that, you have new visual features like VRS, screen space global illumination, lighting improvements, improved performance, and so much more. Near CG quality scenes in Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls is really the only AAA game that has exclusively launched on a 9th gen console, so it's no surprise that it's the best showcase of what these new consoles are capable of, or the PS5 in this case. There's a lot to be impressed by in Demon's Souls where the visuals are concerned, but the thing you will be met with the second you boot up the game is how stunning some of its sections look. Take a look at the Blue Dragon for instance. Its detailed skin shader along with excellent lighting and background effects makes this scene nearly CG-like. It's almost hard to believe that they're rendered in-game and not actually CG. Material renders in Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. As a game that's available on both the PS4 and PS5, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales shouldn't logically be as good to look at on the latter as it is, but there's just so much detail to gawk at here. Case in point, the material renders on Miles' many suits. The individual strands and threads of his jacket, the lint and fibers on his hoodies, the sheen on his classic black suit. Zoom in on any one of his suits and you'll notice a ridiculous amount of detail. Haptics and adaptive triggers in Astro's Playroom. The DualSense's haptic feedback and adaptive triggers have been a focal point of Sony's marketing and promotions for the PS5, to the extent that they made an entire game to showcase some of the best ways those features can be used. Astro's Playroom is full of examples of both features being put to excellent use. Nearly every level in the game comes up with interesting new ideas for how the haptics and adaptive triggers can be used, and it helps that the core design of the game itself is fantastic as well. The animations in Demon's Souls. Video games make advancements in animations on a near constant basis. The PS4 and Xbox One era saw itself a ridiculous number of games coming out and impressing with their detailed and authentic animations, from The Last of Us Part 2 to Red Dead Redemption 2. But one of the PS5's earliest and currently only exclusives tells us that things are going to get even better. We are, of course, talking about Demon's Souls. The way the bosses and enemies move is fascinating to look at. The way objects react when you interact with them is chock full of detail. The way your shield or your weapons vibrate upon impact and you with them never fails to impress. And those are just a few of the many, many examples of excellent animations in Bluepoint's remake. 60 FPS boost to PS4 games on PS5. One of the best things that new consoles have done that immediately makes them attractive products is the way they inherently enhance and boost several older games. On the PS5, there are quite a few notable examples of that. Days Gone runs at a dynamic 4K and 60 FPS. Ghost of Tsushima hits 60 FPS. Dark Souls 3 and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice double its performance. And God of War and The Last Guardian, provided you have them on disc and play without any post-launch patches, also benefit from significant boosts. Particle effects and lighting in Demon's Souls. Again, as the only major next-gen exclusive out right now, it makes sense that Demon's Souls is also the most technically impressive game among the crop of launch titles we've gone hands-on with over the last month. And the game's beautiful and ridiculously detailed particle effects are among many, many things that deserve shoutouts. There's been some debate over whether the remake's hyper-cinematic and realistic look does justice to the original game's artistic vision, but regardless of where you stand on that matter, it cannot be denied that the game's excellent lighting and particle effects add immense atmosphere to every single location you visit in this game. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.